Good afternoon, Ngozi Talk Shows family. It's Lumsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, with Amanda Murray and Grant Morel. How are you guys?
All good this end. All good this end.
You all good? Apart from having a cold, Grant?
Apart from having a cold, all good.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic today is how to start going from zero to hero. From zero to zero, we're going to share the strategy, starting point of little to no experience or skill in a particular area, level, significant of achievement. Uh, is a journey often described by going zero to hero. This journey requires a combination of mindset and strategy and taking action. So Grant chose this topic. So I'm sure the audience would like to hear from you, Grant, why you chose the topic. Would you like to share with the audience, please?
I would love to. Thank you, Nomsa. Yeah. Um, starting anew, how to go from zero to hero. Because a lot of times in our lives, people go through, we're absolutely sure we're doing the right thing, we're with the right partner, we're in the right career, we've studied the right thing at university, or we've gone in the military because that's the thing for us, or something like this, or we've moved to a different country. We know we've made the right decision. To find out 5 or 7 years or 15 years later that, yeah, you know what, that perhaps wasn't the right thing after all. And then you have to start afresh. What do you do? Where does it go? So we always talk about success, and I like to talk about success, but I think success is often defined by the way that people deal with, let's use the word failure. Okay. Because anyone can succeed. Anyone can do it when it's great. Everyone can live life in summer and enjoy life and have a great time when there's tons of money and great health. Everyone can do that. That's easy. What do you do when it goes wrong? This is the test of real successful people, in my opinion, because things do go wrong. And when they do, it's how quickly do you pick yourself up? And sometimes when you start anew. I spoke to a guy who is a wonderful holistic person now. He used to be a business mogul and he did many great things. And at one point, he had investors into his company, big investors into heavy industry. And it all went wrong. The shares plummeted. The money went. The shareholders were looking for money. There wasn't any. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, I hear you're having a bit of a rough time. I hope you're okay. I'm sure you'll find a solution. He said, yeah, I'll find a solution. Just like that. And he had the weight of the whole world on his shoulders. He really did have a lot. It wasn't just like one employee was sick or lost one contract. No, no. This big company was falling down. And he pretty much started from zero and built it up. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but he's a thought leader now. So it's a question of how you tune your mind. And this is why I wanted to choose this subject, because everybody can succeed when things are going well. How do you succeed when things aren't going well? And sometimes, if things can't even be repaired, if things have to be closed, finished, shut away, closed up, and you have to start all over again. And maybe, but when you have to start all over again, maybe you're not that young. Maybe it's a divorce. Kids, maybe you're thinking, am I old enough? Am I young enough to have kids again? Do I want to have kids? Am I young enough to marry? Am I, oh, now I've lost that big thing. Am I too old to get a job? Am I too old to go abroad? This is a conversation I was having with a lovely old gentleman in the pub the other day. He had a friend who had enough with his country. His wife had died and he said, that's it. And he lived abroad. And this other guy didn't go and visit him. And I said, you should go and get your passport and visit your friend. Go and visit before it's too late. Go and see him. You know, it could be a new life. But that guy said, that's it, I'm moving. So my point is, when do you look at it like this? When do you feel it's too late? Now, is it just a mindset thing? Is it a logistical thing? Is it a legal thing? Is it an opinion? Is it a cultural thing? Or is it all just a belief? Because can you start anew and go from zero to hero at any point in your life? That's what I wanted to talk about. Amanda, what do you think about that subject? What are your thoughts
Well,
around that?
I love this subject because I think it really can touch on anything in any area of your life, because really I look at our struggles as like opportunities to learn. And you said that the one person who lost everything in their company and then started a new company
Yeah.
really had that mindset of just like, I got this,
Yeah.
right? And so much of it is about our mindset and how we approach things. And he probably in his second company wasn't actually starting from zero. He was starting from, I already have all of this experience.
Aha.
What it is that I did before, let me apply that experience and knowledge to this other area. And I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who's actually looking to start a new company because his company's doing really, really well. And he's getting a little bored. And he's like, well, I don't know what to do. And he's like, but I know now that I could start a company and have it up and running in a couple months, as opposed to, because of all the knowledge that I have now in the experience that I've had and how to make a really successful company. And he's like, I could make it happen over again really quickly. And so he's like, I'm not going to sell this company because it's my baby, but he's like, the next company that I build, it's going to be one to sell, because I already have all of this knowledge, and it's not my initial one that I have like so much attachment to. It's one that I'm like, okay, I have this knowledge. I want to start fresh again. What am I going to do to be successful in a different area? But one of the things that he's struggling with is like, what do I do now that's a little bit different than what I've been doing, so that it's not in competition? And I'm like, why don't you build a different company that like supports the company that you already have, but
Uh-huh.
is like slightly different area? So we've been brainstorming some ideas of what it is that he can do or start that would be really, really fun for him, like a fun side project. I know it sounds funny when you're running a company to have a fun side project, but I think even once you get really good at your job or you get experience in it, you need those things to keep you busy and engaged. Because I know for myself as a teacher, there's I can't just teach. I need other things that I'm doing because I get bored really easily. And so I'm like writing books and talking on this and doing other things, because the teaching part now is easy. Whereas when I first started, I would spend
Mhm.
so much time really focusing on teaching. And I know for now, like, and I spent hours and hours and hours with my lesson plans, but now I could walk into any classroom any day and teach the whole day without having any plan. If I needed to, I don't do that, but if I needed to, I could go into any classroom and probably teach the whole week and be fine without having to do a whole bunch of prep work ahead of time, because I know what I'm doing, and I know how to get kids to engage, and I know how to make my weeks flow together and how to make my lessons flow together. And so if I had to go start in a new classroom tomorrow, I wouldn't actually be starting anew. I would have all this knowledge that would help me go what would look like zero to hero really quickly, but it's because I have all this background knowledge in that area. And so I think when we look at our failures too, it's our ability to fail forward. And that's what you were talking about again with that other person in the company, is they had this failure in a different area, but then they were able to fail forward in another area because they had all that experience and knowledge that they could take with them, and then be able to learn from those mistakes and then build something better and more fulfilling, probably, because you said it was in like the healing arts area or something. And I was like, oh, that just like warms me up inside when you hear people who are like super successful business people and they build something in a healing realm as well that's super successful. And I'm like, oh, people think that there's not as much money or like success in some of those healing arts areas, but I really truly think there's
healing
a whole
realm as well that's
opportunity.
super successful. And I'm like, oh, people think that there's not as yes, but I really truly think there's healing realm as well that's super successful. And I'm like, oh, people think that there's not as yes, but I really truly think there's healing realm.
Who's playing the feedback? Is that you, Grant?
Yeah, no, I could hear it too. I don't know. I think it stopped, is it?
Yeah, it stopped. That was weird. I hear it completely in the background, like because it's paused. Sorry. I lost my train of thought. What do you think, Nomza? Do you ever
I like it what you both there just said, because you both like put things in different perspective but in one voice. Like Amanda, you made an example that even if you were to start a new classroom today, because you've already got the knowledge and you already know what you need to do. So to you, it wouldn't be like starting again. It would be like picking yourself up. I think the question is picking yourself up. Are you able to pick yourself up when things go wrong? And I like Grant when he said when somebody moved into a different country and then is starting again. I watched Grant Cardone where they took all his conduct and everything, and they gave him just a new phone and just to go and start again. And it was tough, but because he picked himself up and he did hit the target. So I think we can do it. You can start from going zero to hero. But now the question is, how much do you want? Would you want this success? Moving to a different country as well, like Grant said, like myself, I've moved from another country coming to United Kingdom. And when you hear people talk about UK, you think, wow, UK is a place of gold. But when you come here, you are like, wow, okay, it's okay. So where do I start? And but because for me, basically, there was this struggle, and I had come far, so I was like, I've got to do this. And I could hear my stepdad in my heart. My stepdad used to say to me, if you move to a different country, the people from your country, you look at them as your family. You need to make friends with the people in that country. You learn their culture. You learn how things done. Learn their mindset, and you plan your life. You don't go to Europe and you want to make friends with people from Africa. You already know your brothers and sisters. They are part of your family, but go there, learn the culture in the United Kingdom. I had to learn the culture and I had to learn everything. And I was like, oh, it's very, very interesting, actually, the England history. And but for some people, they might find it really hard to actually adopt to everything. So yeah, I like that idea, Amanda. Let's take the classroom to a different place, and Grant, let's go to another country and start again. That's awesome. Do you have anything else, Grant?
Yes, indeed. And you picked up on the point very, very nicely. That the point is that when people think they're starting from the beginning again, you're actually not, because of all that built up experience that you have. You've learned a whole lot of ways of things not to do them, how not to do things, which is great. You know how you wouldn't do it again. You know how you would do it. You know how you do it differently, and you know what you want for now. You've learned from the first time. Now, this often comes to in the world of coaching and training, where I've started businesses, etc. When I coach people to do this now, I can get them to do it much quicker than I did it, because I've made those mistakes. I've learned, I've read, I've learned, I've put it into practice. I've made mistakes. I've got it wrong. I've got it right. I've corrected it, and I can do it much faster now. And all life is exactly like that. So it's much quicker than it needs to be. This is why, if you will, we've been the beta testers of life, and you've been a beta tester of your life. But this time you know how to do it quicker. You know the people who you can get on with. You know the people you're compatible with for friendship, for work, for living. You get to know the kind of people. You know the kind of areas where you'd like to live and the kind of areas where you just really wouldn't want to live if you can help it. You understand about entertainment, what you need out of life. Food, you know what kind of food you want to eat. You know the places you want to go. You know about this, and it's much easier when you're mapping out life the second time. Because the first time, you've had no training manual for it. You're going out, you're picking up the pieces, you're trying to work it out for yourself. The second time, you've written the manual. You know what doesn't work. Just like if you do a traffic jam, you go through traffic, you go this way and there's lots of traffic. The next day, are you going to go the same way? No, you're going to take the other route, right? And it's exactly the same as this. So you're never starting from afresh. So you have a head start. Yes, you may be starting out later than the first time, but you can go there faster. Now, the other point is the frame of reference, the way you choose to look at it, the way you choose to look at it. Now, some years ago, I went to, a friend of mine took me to an exhibition, a very controversial art exhibition called Bodyworks by a German artist who had, obviously, legally had these bodies donated to them, dead bodies donated to them. And with it, he partly cut away some of the bodies, exposing the organs, and he reconstructed them into a posture of life, be that driving or something like this. There was even a couple that he had there, and he had them repositioned in death, making love. And you could see all the parts of the organs connecting. Very unusual. And my friend took me to see it. He had donated his body to it. And he took me to see it. And I said, I'm really not too sure how I'm going to take to this. I said, don't be offended if I walk out. I really may not like this. I don't get it. I walked in and I looked around. And of course, it's got writing next to it. Why they chose to do this with these particular figures. And they given full consent, when they was alive to do it. Why he chose to do it, because it was prevalent to their lifestyle when they was alive. So he was trying to reconstruct their life in death. And I looked at it. And it did. And my friend, a different friend, asked me when I came out, did you see it as art? And I said, yes, I did. I did see it as art. Much to my surprise, I saw it. It was very well done. And it was fascinating. You learn so much about the human body and almost was allowing them to continue their life after, in a sense. It's a very unusual, surreal experience. But the reason I mentioned Bodyworks was what also took my imagination while I was there was towards the beginning or the end of it. I think you started off at the beginning and then came out the same part. There was all these posters on the wall of people who had lived quite a long age. And they were talking about the secret of their life. And it's not that they had all had fantastic lives. There was one guy, he had been happily married for years, and his wife divorced him when he was about 70. And he said he was upset at first, but he preferred to focus on all the good times they had had. Interesting. And he remained cheerful and optimistic and made a list of things that he could do, which he couldn't have done when he was married. There was another old lady, and she said she always spent time with young people. She hung around with her granddaughter and her granddaughter's friends. She was obviously a young granny, young at heart. And she said, hang around with young people, eat healthy, get exercise. They had a vibrancy for life, a vibrance for life. And as I read all of these people, there was a common theme, and it was their lust for life, their passion for living, no matter what. And I thought that was really fascinating. So it was beyond art, it was also an ethos, a way to live. Now, if you look at something I've been seeing recently, is a thing called living in the blue zone. And it's these areas in the world where people tend to live to about 100 or more. They live a very long life, and they've studied what it is, what's the common denominators, fun, happiness, eating healthy, exercise, community, friendship, activity, not sitting on your backside all day long, doing things manually, getting out there in the world, doing it, enjoying nature, just having fun doing that. And maybe even a place of worship, actually. It seems to figure quite highly in this. All these things seem to be some of the synonymous factors in it. So it occurs to me, if something happened to these people, the ones I described from Bodyworks or the ones from perhaps living in the blue zone, if something happened to them later in life, if they had to start anew, they probably would go from 0 to hero because of their attitude, because of the previous knowledge and wisdom they've gained, and because of their attitude towards life. They may even choose to see it as a great adventure. Might they be the people who say, yeah, you know what? I was getting fed up with that garden anyway. It was kind of boring me. And it was time to move. I was fed up with wearing those swanky suits. Time to do something different. Perhaps I want to live in a different climate. Perhaps I'm fed up with that job anyway and that business. It was driving me crazy in the end. I didn't realize it until it went, but actually I'm quite relieved now. It's quite nice to start afresh with a clean sheet of paper, and I can do anything I want. They would perhaps be the people who might say that. So that's what I wanted to propose. What do you think about this, Amanda? And by the way, I guess if anybody's listening online and they've got any questions or any thoughts around that, feel free to post it. And we can answer those questions for you or give you our opinions on it live. Amanda, what do you think about that?
I like how you mentioned the blue zones. There was a documentary on Netflix, I believe. I think it was on Netflix that talked about the blue zones, or it might have been on Prime. But it talked about all of those things that you were mentioning of how people who are living beyond 100 and have the most condensed number of centurions, they called them, people who live over 100, they had all of these common themes within them, and the healthy lifestyle, the mindset. And it really makes me think about our habits and what are our daily habits, and are our habits for success, or are they holding us back? And that's because I know Bob Proctor talks a lot about habits, or talked a lot before he passed away, about habits and how our habits actually are what it is that produces our lives. And so what is it that you get up and do each and every day? Are you exercising? Are you eating healthy? Are you spending time with friends and family? Are you working towards your goals? Make those things your habits, and then your habits produce your life and produce what it is that's showing up in your life. And so you really need to like sit down and think about, okay, what is it that is showing up in my life and why? And then look at your habits and decipher which ones it is that are causing that, and then how can you change those habits into something that's going to get you into the direction that you want to get into. And one of the things that is a common theme amongst people who are very successful is to write down the things that they want to achieve each and every day the night before. And then they just make sure that they achieve them. And so it's like tiny little habits of continuous work and continuous growth that gets you to where you want to go. And so when you think about even like writing a book, because I've written a number of books now, where is it that you start? Well, I start with like scribbling something down in a notebook, and then it's like little incremental pieces continuously that get me from that idea that I scribbled down in a book to actually getting it published. And so one of the things that I always think of is like, we all have these like amazing ideas, and there's actually like 0.5% of the population that ever actually gets their book to publish, and yet there's all like I think it's like 50% of people. I looked up the statistics before that there's like 50% of people who actually want to write a book, and only 0.5% of people actually do get to the point where they publish the book. And so if you've published your book, you're in that like top 0.5% because you actually have the consistency to get you from idea to published work. And so I think that's the same with starting anew or going from zero to hero in anything, is that you have that consistency and that perseverance to keep working towards your goal no matter what, and taking it from idea to complete project or complete business or complete whatever it is that you're reaching towards, complete book, that you have that perseverance to get yourself there. And I think so much of going from zero to hero really has to do with our mindset and our habits and how we choose to show up. What is our attitude, right? Who do we connect with? Who do we surround ourselves with? They say, I know I've said this numerous times before, but they say that you're an average of the 5 closest people to you. And so when you look at who you surround yourself with, if you want to start anew, you might want to surround yourself with a whole new inspiring group of people that are going to help you reach towards your goals. And I think that's really important as well. So Nomza, what do you have to say on this topic?
I love what Grant said and what you've said as well. Grant said he actually made mistakes but he reflected on the mistakes that he made, and then he never gave up. He picked himself up and he took action, and he knew that he had a choice. So he had to learn the secret to life, which is, and then he mentioned the man that divorced when he was 70. I always say to people that sometimes when things go wrong, we think that it's all stuckness, it's all bad. But sometimes when things go bad, it's a blessing. I never used to look at that way, but now I am no longer crying for everything because I've met people and I've met this person. When he talks, he always says, when it comes to life, are you somebody who cries for everything? Or are you somebody who picks what to cry for? Like when things go wrong, you see it as a blessing, pick yourself up. And I like it when Amanda, when you talk about the habits as well, because the habits are very, very important to actually look at our habits and then have goals, identify what being a hero means, whether is it mastering skills or achieving career success or personal development. I think it's very, very crucial to have a clear understanding, like when you say, we all have amazing ideas. I like that term, that we all have amazing ideas and we're all capable of doing things that we want to do in life. But some people don't believe that. And also it's very, very important to believe in yourself, cultivating self-beliefs and working on your confidence is very, very, very important. And I like Grant as well when you say like get involved in the community, meet people, enjoy the nature, put yourself out there, go to the worship team. There are some places, churches that help out people in the community. If you ever find yourself stuck, please know that you are not alone. There's lots of people who have gone through that pain, who are there to help others pick themselves up and find that breakthrough that they need. I think is very, very important. Over to you, and Grant as well. You spoke about attitude as well, that having the right attitude, it helps. And I don't know if you want to touch on that part as well for people, like how do you adopt that really attitude when I find myself at the lowest? How do I pick myself up and embrace that attitude and then create the habits that Amanda was talking about? somebody who is listening will be like, I don't know what you guys are talking about when you're talking about attitude or habits. They wanna.
I think it's a great question that you raised, because yeah, we can always talk about picking yourself up and doing it, but how? How do you do it? And I think the key thing for me is about having the support mechanism, putting yourself in an environment where people want you to pick yourself up. They back your decisions, and they cheer you on, put it this way. Because that can really load the dice in your favor if you do this. It's very hard if you've got people telling you all the time, you're crazy, you're a fool, I don't know why you're doing it. It's hard enough to deal with the thing, let alone dealing with negative press, as it will, from people around you. So if you can find people, I mean, unless you're going to absolute danger, it's good that someone says stop, you know. But apart from that, it's good if you have people who support you in your goal, your dream, your tactics. And that is a significant thing. And that can sometimes mean it is time to move to a different area. It is time to move out. Sometimes it is time to switch the phone off or not answer the phone to certain people any longer, because sometimes when you do, it ends up in an argument and you feel fatigued and you feel that got me nowhere at all. It would be easier sometimes to just not do that. So is it a question of that you need to shift gears? You need to shift yourself to a different area. You need to shift yourself to a better group of friends, or just isolate yourself, or just get some different thinking in your mind. This is when sometimes it can go to self-help groups, going to coaching, going to anything like this, because when you do it, you do put yourself in a different environment. You open up your mind to new possibilities, and that in itself is very therapeutic, because you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can start to see change coming in, a light allowing itself to come in for the end. And that's very important, because once you see that, then it tells your brain, it gives it evidence that there is a solution. It is on its way. And that little piece of light at the end of the tunnel starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is the beginning of the end of the problem. So it's very important that you give yourself the best first chance by placing yourself in the right environment to do that. Now, whether that means in a place of worship, friendship, support, work, communion, whatever, just put yourself in a place where people have got your back, they support you, they're looking out for you, and they want you to win. Now, it doesn't matter if that's one person you speak to once a week, or people you surround yourself every day. Start with that. Putting yourself in the best environment is the best chance you can have of succeeding. What do you think, Amanda?
Sorry, it wasn't popping up with the unmute thing. I like how you were talking about putting yourself in that best environment for your success and really being able to like put yourself out there. I think that's really important. Or also knowing when it is that you need to just like stay in and focus on what it is that you need to do. And sometimes that is even just like reaching out to people online. It doesn't have to be in person. There's so many groups online now that are super inspiring. You know, there's a Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs group that is on Facebook that's really popular, with just being able to make connections and different things, especially when you are starting out with something or with a business. And one of the things that I really think about when we talk about starting anew is like relationships, because so often one of the things that affects us the most is whether or not to stay or leave in a relationship, especially one that's maybe not the most positive for you. And so that one, I know people are like, oh, I'm like 60 years old and starting new with somebody else just like seems astronomical, right? Like just like a huge weight to be able to like start over with a new partner at that age. And yet I look at people that I know who've met the love of their life in their like 60s or 50s or even their 70s, and just like how amazing it is to see people start fresh at all different ages, and how that freshness can really bring life into your life and how it can, you build those memories with people. And I like how you talked before about the person who like whose wife had died, and then or they made, or maybe they got divorced, I can't remember what you said, and they like made a list of all the things that they couldn't do while they were married, and they actually went out and did them. And it's like, oh, that person must be just like full of life, right? And we were talking the other day, I know both of us were on, or all three of us were on, when we were talking with John Gray about his books, and I was like, man, that guy has so much energy and is so vibrant, and he just like talking about his books and all of his research, and he's retired, and how much he just like has this like zest for life, and it just like oozes out of him. And I was like, man, I want to be like him, like just so inspired and so full of life, and so like, this is great, and I'm going to just keep exploring this area of my life, his sexuality area of his life, because that's the focus of a lot of his research, is the difference between men and women, and what it is that we all need, and different things. And he talked about how his wife had passed away, and how he's now remarried, and him and his new wife are just like loving life and making the best of everything. And I was like, I just was completely inspired by him, right? Because he could have like gone into a deep depression after his first wife had passed away, right? Because they were together for a really long time, and he has this really successful career, and he could have gone in a completely opposite direction, and yet instead he's made a connection with another wonderful human, and they're just like making the most of life together. And I was like, wow, he was so inspiring. And I think we need to look to more people like that, especially when you have a setback and you have to start anew. Look to people who have had that same thing happen and made the best of it. And I think that's something that whenever we are going through a struggle, is to realize that you're not alone. You're not alone in getting divorced at 30 or getting divorced at 60 or 50 or whatever age it is. There's other people who've gone through that same thing. Or if you've been in a really toxic relationship, there's other people who've had worse toxic relationships, and there's other people who have taken what they learned in that toxic relationship and really made the most wonderful life for themselves and their children, because of what they've experienced and that knowledge that they gained in that prior relationship, and the strength they gained in that ability to leave that relationship. And I know for myself, that's kind of my story, is that I had a very toxic, unhealthy marriage, and then I've gained so much power and knowledge and strength in moving forward, and in my ability to build a really wonderful life for me and my daughter, just the two of us. And if I meet somebody, great, but also like, it's okay to start new no matter what age you are. And I think that's a really great thing. And also, like Grant was saying earlier, to like about the grandmother who hung out with younger people, or maybe it was you, Nomza, who was saying
Right.
about the mother who was hanging
Yeah.
out with their grandkids. And I'm like, I play on a soccer team, and all the people, I'm like, I call myself the grandma on the team, because I'm like at least 10 years older than all of the other women on the team, except it's like a co-ed team. Some of the guys are the same age as me, but I purposely chose to play on a team with younger people because I wanted a challenge. I wanted to be engaged, and I wanted to see if I could keep up with them. And like most of them, almost all of them are 10 to 15 years younger than me, but it's like a good, inspiring, like get out and run and have a really great time. And they don't believe me when I tell them that I am so much older than them. They're like, no, you're like 33. And I'm like, no, just add 10 to that. Right. And so, but it is because you like feel just so much more alive and engaged and inspired when you can play sometimes with younger people, or even just, I know because I work with children all the time, they have this like unique awe and exploration that they have for life when they are so young, and they have so much creativity like oozing out of them. And right now in the classroom, I always think like when I start a new like a new topic, that it's kind of like starting fresh. It's like, okay, we finished weather and now we're going to start on electricity, and so it's kind of like starting new. And each year for a classroom teacher is like starting new, and I'm like, okay, what did I learn last year that I want to do? What is it that I want to pull forward and do again and tweak a little bit? I really like this art project, but I'm going to tweak that. And I think like the school year is always kind of like a refresh for me when things change over, because you start with this like beautiful clean slate every single year, and it's like kind of in some ways a really great way to like view life. And this week I've been writing in my blog about decluttering your life and how amazing it feels to just like go through and like clean out an entire room. Like, how do you feel once you've like gone through that room, taken out everything that you don't need anymore and donated it, and it just feels like fresh and new, right? And so how can we just take it what it is that we have and declutter that mental space of feeling overwhelmed by starting anew in something? Because sometimes starting new is actually like uplifting and inspiring. It's not overwhelming at all. It is like a new journey and a new opportunity rather than something negative.
Yeah, I love that. I love Amanda when you say it's okay to actually to start and also decluttering. You mentioned mentally space is really good to actually start afresh. I think it's very, very important. And also, Grant, you mentioned that you surround yourself with people that support you, because it's very, very important to have people that have your back. I always say I prefer to have less friends than to have lots of friends that don't really support me. Because sometimes I used to have these friends where when we show up, when we have a conversation, you feel like we are competing against each other. So I moved away from that, and now I just have these people that I know that they support me, and it's important just to put you first, and whatever you do, and look at the foundation of life, whether can your life move to the next level, where there's people. And it's very, very important. Amanda, as well, you say every year is you guys are so lucky because it's a new start for you guys. Every year it's like you're doing a new thing. So it's like, okay, looking back and reflecting how the other year has been and looking forward to the other year. Like, is there any improvement that we need to improve, or can we do things differently than we did before? So it is very, very, very important to actually do your things. Uh, for me, I don't like doing the same thing all the time. I like to reflect on things. And when I reflect on things and just change things around, and just look forward to the future. And if I see that I'm surrounded by people that I know so good, and then I'm not sure if you guys saw, I've changed my profile. I've edited that I'm managing other people, like people that are into acting industry. When they approach me to say, no, sir, can you manage us? I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. But then now that I've taken that place, I'm like, yeah, it means I can learn some things, because we are speakers, so I can meet people and start creating space for us and just see a different world, how the world is like. Because I lived in that world, but when you're living it, you're like, somebody does things for you. But I'm like, now that I have to just stay focused on just seeing the world, how the world works in that world. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, it's all about winning. Grandi said you surround yourself with people and make sure you win. So it's all about winning. Yeah, life is a game. We have to
Yeah,
win.
I
Yeah.
was coaching somebody who's doing very well only yesterday. And I asked this person, what do you think is the secret of success? And he said, surrounding yourself with the right people, hiring the best people you can possibly afford. That's what he said. Yeah, hiring the best people you can possibly afford. Very, very true. Very, very wise. And he's doing very well as a result of having done that. And it's true. So really, what is that? That's environment. You're surrounding yourself with the right thinking, accountability. The right people will hold you accountable to higher standards. The thinking is different, completely different. This is why people pay to go to certain schools, right? To hang around with the right kids, so your kids don't hang around with the wrong crowd. You hang around with the right crowd. You hang around with the teachers that see that in you and know where to push you a little bit further and where not to, where to steer you into a different direction. That's what it's all about. It's the right environment, and that is so important. I once trained in a former occupation. I trained an ex-Royal Air Force fighter pilot. I had to do this, not flying, and I said, "Wow, it's amazing." I said, "Because you've learned to fly it," and he said, "In a sense, it's easy." Now, I think he was being very flippant in the Royal Air Force. He said, "Because you've got to understand, you've got the very best teachers in the world. Now, they pick the best candidates, to make no mistake. They pick the best candidates, and he was one of them. But he said, you're taught by the best teachers in the world on the best equipment in the world in the environment." He said, you are in a flying environment. You're eating, sleeping, breathing aviation. Everything you do, even when you're not doing it, you're talking about it. Everything is aviation. It's hard not to get it right when you're in that environment, the very, very best of the best, surrounded by the best, talking about doing the best, practicing being the best. And that was it. It's environment. It was immersed in the right environment. And I think anything's like that, isn't it? Any sports club, any education sector. So how many of you out there are doing that for yourself? That's my question. How many of you are putting yourself in your best environment? Because we quite clearly demonstrated how, in so many examples, people flourish when they're in the right environment. So if it's a given that the environment is a key factor, what are you doing about putting yourself in that environment? Because you will end up in an environment, that's for sure, but it may not be the environment you choose. So when are you going to get on that Greyhound bus, pack things up, move away, get a different job, say goodbye, say hello, and go and do something different? Because that could be one of the key points to success for you. Just changing them. As my friend said, things need shaking up a little bit. Things need changing around. And he moved from very close to where I am now to where he is now, about 10 years ago. And he said, I just need to move things around in my life a bit. He just needed to shake the snow globe up a little bit, get some things different. And that was his way of doing it. And he certainly did it. So what about you? Are things getting stagnant? I'm not saying throw everybody out of your life. If they're doing a nice job and they're being very supportive, keep them, of course, and thank them for what they're doing. But if things aren't working, what snow globe needs to be shaken up? What needs to be changed? Is it your job? Is it your relationships? Is it your relationship with yourself? Big one, big one. Because you want to get relationships right with someone else, you've got to have the relationship with yourself right first. Okay. Otherwise, everything will be a little bit out. Nothing will quite match up. Once you get it right with yourself, it's easier to put the other parts on top. Okay. Because you are the foundation. Is it your job? Is it your career? Is it your leisure time? Is it your living space? What needs changing up? I used to have a business partner, and he went for a very difficult relationship split up. And the moment it ended with the person, he kind of went quiet for about a week. And I phoned him up. There's no answer for a couple of days. And then I phoned him up and he answered after about 4 or 5 days. Are you okay? I said, have you been decorating? And he said, yeah. I said, I know you. I know what you always do. When something goes wrong, like a job or relationship, what he does, he'll decorate the house. He'll just make it different. He wanted to remove all evidence of that bad relationship he had, and he just decorated the house differently. Just wallpapered the house differently. Move things around, move the furniture around, move the TV from there to there, done that, move the table, got a new rug, done that, and just wallpapered it differently. So it just felt different. I think his ex-girlfriend even brought a vacuum cleaner to the house. He got rid of that. He didn't want any evidence left. He just got rid of it. And he just effectively wallpapered over everything and started afresh. He dealt with the grief of it, but he just wanted a new environment. And that's the point. So there's many ways you can change your environment. Okay, it can be that one bedroom bed sit that you're living in. It can be your friend's couch. Maybe it's time to get off that couch and get yourself a studio flat. I don't know. Or just do the same thing and live on someone else's couch, but in a different town or a different job. Whatever it is, don't just do it for the sake of it, but do it on purpose. What needs changing? What's the difference that's going to make a real big difference for you? Because once you start to do these things, you really can start anew, no matter what that is. If it's a relationship, look at a new relationship and look at all the beautiful things about the new partner that the other partner didn't have. You can start to see the great things. Look at the new places you can go to. What about if you move to a different location, knowing the things you didn't know before? As we all know about moving around, Amanda, Nomsa, you know about moving around, and we've all done this at some point in our life. And what about the people you can meet? How fascinating can that be? The possibilities of the new people you can meet along the journey, things you can learn, places you can go, people you can meet, possibilities that open up. If you just only imagine now the possibilities that can happen. You know, last night I came out, and I hope you're watching. I came out from a place to come home for a meeting, and I stopped to get some petrol. And when I did, what do you call it? Petrol? Fuel? Depends what country you're in, right? So I went to the gas station, the petrol station. And as I came out, somebody asked me a question. They said, are they still accepting cards in there? I said, yeah. And this person had the most amazing energy about them. And I said, wow, you've got really great energy. What is it you do? And we had a brief chat for a couple of moments while we were filling our cards, yeah? But I thought, had I not have come out of that bar and gone home, had I not have gone out that night, you would never meet that person. Now, I met them fleetingly, but they lit up my whole day. There was just something about their energy. It was great. So what was that? If you've got a problem, don't stay in if you can help it and look at those four walls, because your world becomes very small. You start to see the four walls and the whole world's contained in that. The moment you go out and get some fresh air and see other people who aren't part of that problem, other people who are going about in their life happily, catching buses, cooking food, meeting people, just doing that, it is that little piece of light at the end of the tunnel that shows you, you know what, there's normal life out there and it can carry on. And that light at the end of the tunnel gets bigger and bigger until it becomes your reality. So just start with something small and shake it up. Amanda, have you ever known anyone to do that, experienced that, or done it yourself?
Well, I love that. Just shake it up a little bit and get like rid of things. Like that decluttering thing that I was talking about. I know there's like certain times throughout the year that I just like to go through things and declutter them and declutter that space. But I also think about when relationships end too. I know when I got divorced, I basically didn't keep anything. I like sold it or got rid of it and just started fresh in my house with me and my daughter. Like the only things I really kept were her things. And so I know that feeling of like, let's just start fresh and have let go of all of that stuff so you don't have those reminders and just to start fresh and new. And I know for myself being able to like buy my own house and and start fresh with new furniture and everything really felt like really great when I moved in. And that was like 10 years ago now. So it's been a long while, but like eventually you just sort of like keep building on those things. And I had a friend, I have a really beautiful garden in my little yard, and she was like, "Oh, I love your garden so much. I want to like build something like this in mine." And I'm like, keep in mind, like this is like 10 years worth of like building. It didn't happen in 1 year or 1 day or anything. It's like I've been picking at it and tweaking it for 10 years, and every spring I like dig everything up and reorganize it and plant a few annuals and cut back my perennials and do different things to like keep tending to my garden. And I'm like, yeah, it's really beautiful, but it's not like 1 year worth of work. It's like 10 years worth of work. And now I'm at the point again where I'm like, okay, I need to repaint my fence and repaint the deck and maybe change up some of the furniture on the deck. But it is something that like you slowly pick at and tweak and continuously, but each spring it's like kind of starting new too, where you get to go and buy all the flowers for your flower pots and plant a new fresh garden of what vegetables I want to plant and different things. And I view spring as that time of like cleanup and reset. So I always clean my garage in that time, and I take everything out of the garage and then I put it all back in. And then one time, one of my friends, her daughter was like, "You have the cleanest garage I've ever been in." And I was like, "This isn't even clean yet. You just wait until I actually clean it, because I haven't done my yearly clean through." And she just laughed at me. But it's like, it's almost like there's times of the year that are like those decluttering times where you've like hibernated for a little while in the winter. And then it's like spring and it's like, okay, my yard's getting reset, my garage is getting reset. And then at Christmas time, it's like, there's a different reset too, because you put up all your Christmas decorations. And then every time after I do that, it's like, okay, we're cleaning out our closets, we're doing this, so that we have like this fresh start at the beginning of the new year. And then spring's kind of that same like fresh start piece. And then the fall with the start of school is that like fresh start at work for me. And so it's almost like that starting anew can happen at like different times of the year as well. Or even if something has inspired you today, there could be something that you're like, okay, I'm going to start fresh today and I'm going to do this. And I know sometimes like starting a new habit or something can be like a little overwhelming, but at the beginning of this year, I started like a 90-day journal of writing every single day. And I think I'm at like day 150. So I've been writing in it consistently every single day, like 3 goals that I have for the day. And then, like gratitude I have for that day and sending love ahead. And then I write at the end of the day. So now I never thought that I'd make it to day 150, but now here I am, right? I just wrote down like the other day that I'm grateful for writing in this for 150 days. Because now obviously I have a new one because I passed the 90-day mark, but you can start fresh and commit to something for yourself. And that was kind of like a commitment to myself. There was like 3 commitments I made to myself this year at the beginning of the year. And one was to write a blog entry once a week and to make a video on social media or a reel. And then the other one was to like, just like be grateful every single day. And so how do I make myself accountable to be grateful every single day? Well, I write in a journal, and then the one that I got, I tweaked, and then I made my own version of it on Amazon because I was like, oh, I like these parts of this one that was given to me. And then I made my own one because then it was like more aligned with like what I like to write about each and every day. And so that's like, what commitments are you going to make for yourself for starting anew and building a new habit into your life? I think that's really important. But I need to get ready to go to work because it's almost time for me to go. It's bright and early where I am in Canada. So it was a really great conversation today, guys.
Thank you, Amanda. Just let everyone know if they want to get in touch with you, they can get in touch with you on social media and Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agent's website.
Yeah, and just art, mindfulness, and creativity on all of my social media. And yeah, I really love this, like start fresh and take that knowledge that you have moving forward is kind of my last words for today. Grant?
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody, it doesn't matter where you are in life, what's happened now. If you have to start afresh, try to see it as a new adventure. Try to see it as something that you wouldn't have done otherwise. But it's what I call like the Christmas sweater. Sometimes in life, you know, you get that Christmas sweater, someone buys you, and you think, I wouldn't have bought that for myself. But when you try it on, you actually like it and it suits you, but you never would have thought of buying it for yourself. I think sometimes life is like that. It throws you these things, but if you embrace it and give them a try, they can be better than you think. And as you know, you've got a whole range of resources there, what you've learned up to now in your life, which is going to help you achieve even quicker. You have resources that you either know or people you can tap into, such as mentors and coaches who can help you get there quicker, therapists, etc. Plus the fact that you can make a list of all the things you can do now as a result of this new freedom that you didn't once have, and think of perhaps travel opportunities if that's a factor too. In fact, these things, these changes in life, these starting anew, can be a really, really vibrant time in your life if you choose to see it. But it's all a question of your frame of mind, your mindset. So we've spoken about what you can do, how you can go about it, accountability for yourself and with other people. These are the practical steps you can take. But again, sometimes the map is not the territory. So if you need help with doing that, with implementing that, please reach out to the show. Please reach out and we can help you. We can talk about how we help our other clients with things such as this. And of course, we could help you too. That's what I wanted to say. If you need to find me, you know where you can find me, either here on the show or grant.morell at instagram.com. And over to you, Nomsa.
For me, is maintaining your well-being and ensure a balanced lifestyle with proper nutrition, exercises, and rest at the same time. Maintain your mental and physical health are the foundation to sustain effort to succeed in life. And give back and inspire others. Share your journey, like we are here, we're sharing our journey. We are inspiring you guys with our experiences in life, the challenges that we have had to go through, the victories. So you can do this through blogging. Amanda does blogging, writing books, social media, public speaking, and just to help others by mentoring them, like what we do, and starting the journey. Just to reinforce your own learning and growth, and just keep going regardless of what life throws at you, because life will go throw things at you. So just that's the secret to success. And just when you fall, you pick yourself up. And guys, if you want to connect with us, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and social media. Connect with us on our social media handles, and go to the website as well. Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency. You're looking for love, there's a page there. You can sign up, connect with us. Looking to find your own voice as well, you can sign up as well. There's a page that says connect with us. God bless everyone, and